You guys, super excited to have Brian here with us. It is an absolute treat that he's joining us. Um, Amazing content. I'm really excited that he's going to be sharing with us today. He also, and I hope that he doesn't mind that I share this, he also has a TED Talk, you guys. So don't go looking for it right now. We want you to stick with us here, but I would really encourage you to go check out his TED Talk after our Business Booster today. And with that, Brian, I'm going to make you presenter, and you'll be able to advance your slides and everything. And then let's go ahead and unmute you. And Brian, you're unmuted. Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you
Good.
so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I just want to, if everybody can just give me a thumbs up or a how are you doing, or just say hi real quick. I just want to see some names so that I can feel like I'm talking to real people. Sometimes when you do webinars, you don't get to actually see people in the face, and that's the part that you love. So I'm going to try and do this virtually. So I've got some really good, fun people I'm seeing here. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, Susan. Hi, Scott. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Brian. Brian with an I, but I still love you. Jamie, how are you doing? All right, we've got some good hellos. If along the way you feel like just shouting out a hello, feel free to do so. And if you have questions along the way, please feel free to just go ahead and drop them in. I will take questions at the end, but I'll mark them down, and we will make sure to address those. And if it's vital to the screen, I'll actually just go ahead and answer it right then and there. Excuse me for a second. Okay, so this is called Humanizing Business by Energizing Marketing, but the reason that it's called that is because of a book that I wrote called "There's No B2B or B2C, It's Human to Human," and I want to talk about that. I want to give you guys some insights into where that book came from and what it means. But before we do that, before we talk about that topic, I wanted to talk to you about kind of the circle of trust, because we are in this environment right now where everyone is getting hit with content. They're getting hit with things with so much that we're becoming human firewalls. If you're familiar with a firewall, it's something that protects you over time in technology, and I think that that's the same thing for humans. We're getting so much content coming at us that we don't know who to trust and what to do, and yet we're expected to get out there and really promote our businesses, or get our businesses on the map, get humans to trust us. And so I'm going to walk you through exactly how to break through that firewall in an authentic way. Axon, thank you so much for sharing my book, or my B2B concept there. I appreciate that. Then I have some things for you guys here throughout the presentation. I'll make it really fun and engaging, and some things that I'll also give away. So if you stay to the end, you get something fun out of this. Now, if you know Meet the Parents from Gaylord Fokker was in Meet the Parents. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And the question is, who is Gaylord Fokker? Gaylord Fokker is Ben Stiller. He did a wonderful job in Meet the Parents. He is one of the most humans I know. I'm sure you guys, if you haven't seen the movie, please run out right tonight and watch it. It is one of my favorite things of all time, because it's not only funny, but also you just empathize with this character. You just like, oh my God, how many things can this guy go through? And he's done all kinds of things. Like in I think there's 3 movies, if I'm not mistaken, and each one, it just builds on top of the other. What makes us like him as a human is these simple things: that he's genuine, that he has a heart, that he embraces imperfection, and that he embraces humor. And we just are so endeared towards him when he does something silly or funny or real, which is what also is in alignment with what I'm suggesting that your business is like. Now, I'm not saying that you guys should run right out and actually set fire to something like he does, or have as many things go wrong as he does. But the attributes of these categories are very much right on for what people are expecting out of the business to be its most human self. if that makes sense. And don't worry, if you want more things, more examples as we go on, this is going to get even more clear. But I do think that it's hard for businesses or for yourself to embrace that perfection as a person or brand when people are actually watching you. There are people out there that can see your tweets, they can see your posts, they can see your videos, and they're watching your conversations. They know what you're saying and how you're saying it, and so that makes it a little bit more challenging, or a little bit more, timid or fearful of actually putting stuff out there. But it's even more important that you do get out there, that you do talk about whatever it is that drives your business and makes it more human. Like, for instance, if you're talking about the lunch that you had today with your team, or the things that happened. I mean, I've actually walked into, this is probably too much to admit for a webinar, but I walked into a meeting with my zipper down once, and I actually shared that on social media because I just thought it was funny, and it really gets people to empathize a little bit in terms of like who hasn't done that. Not everyone, but a lot of people, right? And so I think that it's important to embrace your human moments, and maybe certain times that it's not important that you broadcast it loudly, but there are other times where it actually connects you deeper. Now, back to the idea of B2B or B2C, it's HH, human to human. This is a concept that I presented, for the last now 8 years, and I've been talking about human to human over time because there's so many different aspects to humanizing your business. Just in the last 3 years, or even 4 years, it's been complicated. There's a lot of businesses that are and people that are trusting automation, and here we are sitting on an Infusionsoft call and our webinar, and we're talking about how to automate your marketing and how to get things to be to the point where it actually scales. And I do believe in that. I do believe that you can scale your marketing, you can scale your relationships to the point where you eventually lead to a handshake or a hug. The point at the end of the day is to get closer to relationships, to the right relationships. And to scale that is fine. The problem, though, is that we're starting to use tools to automate as much as we can. And the other thing is that no matter what you are, whether you're B2B or B2C, you have access to the customer, and so does your clients. Everyone has access to the customer. Everyone inside of a company can talk with the customer. So whether you're a channel partner like a Cisco who sells purely or mostly on channels, yet the CEO, the CMO, the CFO, the product development team, the engineering team, the person at the front desk, all can go on Twitter and see what their clients and their partners are saying right now. And that wasn't the case 10 years ago. Before social media, you didn't know what people were saying because everyone did not have access to that kind of information. So social has really changed the game in terms of access to communication to the other end. So I prefer to think of all businesses as human to human. Now, I know that there's process differences, there's business differences inside and how you treat different kinds of activities from a consumer versus a business to business kind of infrastructure, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is the overarching communication piece, and that is really important to understand. Now, this concept I presented 3 years ago on Bloomberg. I gave a keynote there, and it took off more so than any other presentation I've given. It had over 80 million impressions over the next 48 hours. It was translated into over 2,000. It had 2,000 bloggers writing about it, and it had over at least 15 languages that it was translated into. And then over the next couple of weeks, I actually collected everything I'd written about it from the previous years and produced it into a book that then did, again, just as well as when I had launched it from the stage. And I've been speaking about it almost ever since. So for the last 3 years, it almost tripled my excitement and engagement over this topic because of that. that experience. And so I'm really, really passionate about this topic, and you'll see it kind of pop up throughout the discussion here. So as you have questions, again, please feel free to bring them through. Has anybody, I'm curious, anybody here just say yes or no? Have you heard of the H2H concept? Just say yes or no. I'd just love to hear if this is a new thing or if you've already heard of the topic and this is good. Okay, awesome. Oh, good. Some people have not and some have. Yeah. Talking about it at TNC, absolutely. Yes, TNC. He talked about it on stage, as I heard, and actually I talked to Ryan Dice about that. So good. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Thank you guys so much. Glad that you guys, some of you have heard of it, and others that haven't. I'm going to tell you the tenets of it, or for anybody that's interested, this is really the three pillars. And so as you're thinking about each of these, what I'd really love to do is actually have a little bit of an interaction with you guys here. So based upon simplicity, the first word, simplicity. Think about a business that embraces simplicity, and tell me, what business do you think embraces simplicity? What business is simple in its approach? And send me just a name, one name of a business you think is simple in the way that it produces its business. Yep, Apple, Jamie, that's a great one. Apple is super simple. They only have a handful of products if you think about it, or you look across their product line. It's really not that hard to understand what Apple produces, and I think Apple's a great example. Any others that you guys think as far as businesses that are simple? Anything else? Bahama Bucks. I haven't heard of them, but it looks like Matt is. Hello, Matt. Either that's Matt or it's Braxton being Matt. I'm not sure which of the Matts that is. McDonald's, super simple. Hawaiian shaved ice. Huh. Yeah, right? That's a good one. In-N-Out Burger. Totally simple. Totally simple. And Braxton did confirm that Matt is on with us. So Matt, thanks so much for joining with us today. I know he's home taking care of a new baby as well. So appreciate that, man. David said Chipotle. That's a good one. That is super simple. Daniel Guzman said Redbox. Man, you can't get more simple than Redbox. They do one thing. Okay, so the next one is empathy. Empathy is a really hard one for businesses to get outwardly or externally, I should say. What business do you think embraces empathy? And what I mean is they show it, they display it, they give you the feeling that they really care about your business. And perhaps you might see this show up in customer service. Go ahead and jot down or send me ideas of what you think a business is for empathy. Healthcare, hospitals. Oh my gosh, that's probably one of the most empathetic areas possible. I mean, and the healthcare system, certainly on the hospital side. Now you can say that the insurance carriers is another topic, but yeah, absolutely healthcare. It's funny. There's a great example of Amazon where a guy tried to return his broadsword over an online chat with customer service. And he tried to return it, and the guy on the other end, the customer service rep, said, "Why art thou returning thy broadsword to us?" And the guy started cracking up because customer service actually was empathetic and having fun with this customer. And the customer ended up posting it online, and it went viral because they were being human and having empathy towards the customer. It was really, really cool. Of course, Matt says Infusionsoft helping small businesses overcome challenges. That is certainly another great example. And then we have imperfection. Now, this should be an easy one for you guys because there is no such thing as perfection as far as I believe. And so I think that imperfection in business is something that we try to cover up or hide most of the time. But I'm curious, who do you think embraces imperfection? What company do you think displays it? Not proudly, but they do not hide from it. You might say that, there are businesses out there that do not fear from, just being them. And the NFL might not be the most company that embraces imperfection. Avis, David just said Avis. I think Avis. Matt said T-Mobile. Yep, I think a lot of them, even the airlines. You can look at the airlines. Kitty said Microsoft. That's a good one. Microsoft is a really I think they're getting there. I think they're doing a way better job recently with imperfection and embracing it. Not just being imperfect, but embracing it. They're doing a good job. Chrissy said bail bonds. They embrace. That's a good one. That made me cry. Lauren said Johnny Cupcakes. I don't know about them. I'm gonna have to look them up. But the bail bonds. I think I've never heard that one before. That's a good one. I'll go, Lauren. I'll go check out Johnny Cupcakes after this. But thanks for sending me the link. Okay, so here's the thing. When you think about each one of these and what makes someone or a business more human, then you can think about each one of these individually, but also think about them in its entirety. So if you were to think about any business out there that we just named, it's highly likely that they don't have all three, that they are, embracing simplicity and empathy and imperfection. They usually take on one or two traits, but all three is very hard for a business. Yet it's not hard for a person. An actual person has no problem displaying simplicity, empathy, and imperfection. So the point is that if you really want your business to take on more human quality traits or humanizing your business, then embrace all three of these, or help your customers embrace all three of these, and you will see an attraction model through all of your marketing, through all of your communication channels get even better, and your engagement will go up. And we'll talk about why and how in a little bit. But the very, very easy understanding of these pillars, if you understand that, you've really got the human model down. So the HCH philosophy, just to go over this one more time before we move on, is to bring back the human side of communication in all its simplicity, imperfection, and empathy. Now, okay, we're in just 1 second, we're going to do something that I told you this was going to be interactive when we got started. So get ready. But right before we do this, I want to talk to you about the Stadium, the Conversation Prism. The Conversation Prism is the different channels of all the different types of social or content or communication channels that are possible out there, with as many different platforms as you can imagine, including yourselves are on there. They're in there, trust me. So everyone in there is categorized with different areas of how they are effective in their communication channels, like Q&A or intranets or email marketing. So each one takes on its own little responsibility, but they all perform best when they work together. So the Stadium model that I'm talking about, this idea where when they work in perfect symphony or harmony, it can spread virally. It can go crazy when you combine the perfect mix. And so if you guys are familiar with the idea of a wave, has everyone here been in a wave in a stadium? Just say yes or no. Have you ever been in a stadium where you stood up and sat down and a wave went around the stadium? Everybody is saying yes. Is there anybody that has not been in a wave? I'm just curious, and it's okay to be honest here. I would love to know, because sometimes that happens. In fact, in almost every audience I talk to, there's typically a handful of people that never have had a wave or been in a wave before. Okay, so we're getting a lot of yeses. I believe that the wave is actually the perfect way of describing how something can go viral. Oh, that's awesome. Scott said wave in opposite directions, upper level versus lower level. Grateful Dead show. I would not put it past a Grateful Dead show to do something like that. So the wave is something that if you think about it, it can really work the way that marketing should really work, where everyone is an active participant. They all sit down, they all stand up in perfect harmony, and it creates this beautiful thing around the stadium. Kind of simple if you think about it, but yet to get an entire audience to do that is really hard. And so typically, if you can imagine in your mind, you're sitting in an audience, I'm talking to you, and I have you actually do the wave. And pretend that you are in charge of the wave. I've put you in charge of that wave. It's kind of hard to do here virtually, but just imagine in your head, you actually started the wave. You got everyone to stand up on your side of the room, and it went all the way down, and then it came all the way back. And that wave was exciting, and everyone shouted out, and everyone's really happy to be involved and be a part of it. That is the exact feeling that you want from your marketing, and it's the same formula that you can use with just about anything that you want to take on the traits of going viral. And sometimes it goes around once, sometimes the wave goes around 5 times or 10 times, but eventually what you've achieved is getting people to really take your message and spread it around the different mediums. Same concept there, right? And the wave was actually started by Crazy George in the early 1980s at the Oakland A's Coliseum. Now, here's the thing. He actually started the wave 2 years before the day it actually took off. It took him 2 years to get everyone involved to start seeing that this was something that could do what it was intended to do, which was to get everyone in unison at their different parts to sit down and stand up. Kind of crazy when you think about it. It's too simple for everyone to understand, which is why it took 2 years for him to get everyone to try it. And when they did do it, it took off. And then 2 weeks later, it grew again to another stadium. And 2 weeks later, it got to another stadium. And before you knew it, the wave became a wave across the country. And everyone started to do the wave at different stadiums. He is actually he's a professor at a university, Scott, and he is actually a really nice, smart guy. But he's a cheerleader, kind of drum beating guy in the stadium, and he actually helped everyone to understand this, and then that took off, and I think that it's now something that we've all adopted even around the world, which is kind of just a fun thing to know. So how do these traits then start to take on more human traits? And the human traits, that I didn't make these up. These are psychology traits based on human values. So the human values, the 6 human values, are connection, significance, certainty, uncertainty, growth, and contribution. And as humans, as people, and I dive into each of these a little bit more in my book, because there's so much that we can go into this. This could be like an hour unto itself. But each of these traits are traits that you can really map to, like in content, you can map to each of these. So how are you connecting? What are the strategies behind connection, or significance, or certainty or uncertainty? Like some people like roller coasters, so they would rather be uncertain. And there's other areas of our life where we need certainty. And who doesn't want growth? I mean, everyone is here to grow and climb, right? Contribution is what gives back, and how we feel good about ourselves when we contribute to something like nonprofits or something of significance like that. And so there's different ways that you can tie these in, but it's also been proven that if you tie in at least 3 of these, that you will make an even stronger connection to a customer for life, meaning they will actually be addicted to your product or service in a positive way, and they will want to do more business with you. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so there are a lot of different fears right now because of what's happening in the human to machine or human to or machine to machine world. And if you think, we've talked about the human model, but the human to machine model is where you take something and you input it, and then it goes off and does its thing and then returns back to you. You guys are all probably familiar with that. And then machine to machine is something that's coming. It's the Watson's talking to Watson's from IBM. It's where you don't really have to interact with something. It's just on automation, and the machine actually works with other machines to do a complex task, and then returns back with that information. But the interesting part here is that anywhere that a machine is involved, input is involved. So as humans, we get to we have this unique we have this uniqueness about us where we can share. We don't need an input. We don't have to have that input. Machines do. So it's the major difference between anything involving a machine versus a human. Also, before we get into this even deeper, I just wanted to take a quick step back and talk about the history of sharing and how things even started, because we really had a lot of changes over the years, just even recently. So we started with cave paintings, marathon men, and the carrier pigeons, town criers, telegraph, newspaper, radio, television, personal computers, the web, blogs, social, mobile, and now what? So now what is artificial intelligence, virtual reality, machine learning, bots. There are all kinds of different forms that are being taken on right now that are turning what we've now just learned in our social era into kind of a much different era. And I think we're in one of the coolest times to be a marketer ever. The stuff that is happening right now and the things that we're going to be able to do in just the next 2 years is going to be incredible. But how we humanize things as we go is also going to be up to the marketer, and that's where your role comes in. Your role in helping to make sure that everything gets put across, even if a bot or an automated sequence or anything gets done, that it really takes on the qualities of everything that I've talked you through in this presentation. Because as we start to roll these things out, if it starts to talk like a machine, then it will put distance in between the consumer, the customer, and yourself. And so that's where the challenge lies. So the question becomes, is it the dichotomy of personalization and automation? Or is it humans and machines, or even humans versus machines? And here's the thing. At the end of the day, we have this incredible power as humans to be able to share in a moment, in a moment of something happening. Remember going back to Gaylord Fokker, Meet the Parents, where those moments happen, where we get to be us. And when we share those out, those are the moments we connect, because we get to have some context around that person as a real person. And so we can do something machines can't do. We can connect in one single moment that and share things out in a moment that gives people all kinds of different feelings or emotions. We can connect through humor. We can connect through sadness or joy or anger. We can connect through all these different things that computers will not be able to do, at least for a long time. And so just real quickly to just kind of accentuate my point, this is us at the Cars ride. This is my family. We're at Disneyland on the Cars ride. We're dropping down, and all of a sudden, for a brief moment, my daughter in the front center turns into Jesus. This is not meant to be religious. I just think it's funny that, her hair, she's a very beautiful girl, but her hair literally went above her top lip and her bottom jaw, and for that quick moment she had a beard, and I thought it was hilarious. And so I took a picture of it on that they have those pictures at the end that you can buy, and I took it with my phone, and I on the screen, and I put it up online and shared it out, and it got all kinds of people laughing at it and having fun. So this is my point. My point is that no computer would have known that was my daughter, or that was the context around this was that this is funny, or there is any kind of any kind of context around this that we're having a moment with my family. And so I thought that and I'll sprinkle some of these stories throughout just to have some fun with you guys. But this is what makes us human. So one of the only quotes I will share, I'm not a quote sharer, but this is one that I do like to share, by Dov Seidman at Harvard Business Review. He says, the companies that succeed best will be those that focus on humanity and work and capitalize on what humans can uniquely do. When you capitalize, when you embrace, when you look at what they're actually doing and you share those moments out, that's what connects you to everyone else. So when we put things out there that are much more brand like, or they're scripted, or they're not in the moment. They're part of the strategy, and we're going to share it at this date and time. Then it becomes less human, and that's not what people want to connect to. They want real, honest, authentic uniqueness. And so I talked a little bit before about the emotions, but I just want to point out that there are 6 general emotions by Paul Ekman. He's an emotions expert. He wrote and has a PhD in emotional. He has an emotional psychology background, and he wrote about the 4 6 areas: fear, anger, sadness, disgust, joy, and surprise. Now, there are lots of varying emotions that around each one of these. You can, branch them off into different areas, but these are the core ones. And it's interesting because as you look at the core ones, he started to realize through his research that when you started to share joy or surprise with people, most of the time, people would actually respond back with joy or surprise. If they were to share in anger or sadness, people would actually respond back with anger or sadness. And so he started to see that people are reciprocal in emotional responses. That when we share online, we have the ability to abstract or to have that kind of level of engagement. So be authentic, but at the same time understand that the power of sharing emotion can be reciprocal in your strategy. So this is kind of another fun story, and I like to share, where I'm walking down in Vegas at an auto car show. I'm just about to give a keynote, and all of a sudden, I'll read it for you. I'm dead serious, Lily. Right after I took this picture, Stormtrooper said something to Chewbacca, which didn't go well and turned into an all-out fist brawl. Darth Vader leaned over to me and said, "I've had it with these two," and he said it in the Darth Vader voice. And I'm sitting there in the middle of this while Chewbacca and Stormtrooper, I wish I had a picture to show you, are actually fist fighting. And I asked Darth Vader what happened, and he said, well, Chewbacca and Stormtrooper are not sharing tips with each other, so they're getting upset. I was like, who does this happen to? So again, I'm having fun with you guys. I'm just sharing some enlightened moments. But at the same time, this is not something that a computer would know to share. It wouldn't know that this is funny, that this is something that your audience might enjoy, that it's a light moment and fun to express who you are. Okay, so here is one of my favorite things as part of the presentation that I really like to go over, because it not only helps you understand maybe how to craft your marketing so that it can become, again, more human and more energetic in what you do, but also a lot of times we share from the wrong place, like meaning, and think about this as a personal brand too. As each of you share on social media, you probably do things that you're not really, maybe sometimes you don't really, it's not who you are. And that's because we're not all created equal in sharing. So the Customer Insight Group at New York Times put together this whole sharing study, and I extracted it and made it part of another research piece that I did, and combined it into a sharing study. So each of these different categories, I'll walk you through them here in a second. And at the very end, I'm going to give you a free way in about, it'll take you about 30 seconds to figure out which one you are. And I put this together just for today's talk with a unique online place for you to go to figure this out. So I'll share that up here towards the end. So the first one's the altruist. That's somebody that likes to speak from their heart, and they speak directly all the time with passion about a certain topic. Number 2 is a careerist. This is a thought leader, somebody who likes to create content, and somebody who also likes to help other people grow their careers, themselves and other people. Number 3 is a hipster. I actually prefer to call it an early adopter. This is somebody who likes to get something for the first time, learn it, and then teach it to others. Number 4 is a boomerang. This has actually 2 split definitions. One is that you get to ask, in both cases, you ask a question to get a response, only to respond back again. A community manager might be this this one. Community manager likes to ask questions of the community and then respond back to each person. And a troll also is a boomerang. A troll likes to ask questions so that they can also pounce back on what it is that you said. And number 5 is a connector. That's somebody who likes to connect 2 or more people together or connect with others. LinkedIn is obviously a connection platform. Number 6 is a selective, and the selective is somebody who likes to actually they like to talk behind the scenes. They would rather email, direct message, be on Messenger, or even in person. This isn't somebody who typically shares publicly. It's somebody who likes to share privately with other people. So, and you can be more than one of these. At the end, again, I'll show you which one you lean towards, but you can have a little bit of all of them in you and just lean towards one of them. And it depends on the week, the strategy, or however it is that you're coming at this to what you portray. So stay tuned. I'll get you a way to figure out which one you are. So as humans, why we share always comes down to one thing. And out of my research that I did for my second book called Shareology, I interviewed over 250 people of all walks of life. And the one word that came up for why people share is connection. We all want to connect. That is the one thing that we do, whether it's sharing because we feel passionate, sharing because we want somebody to respond. It all comes down to connection. We want to connect with one or more people. And so connection, if you're going to connect, then you need to understand that the connection piece should be a part of your strategy. Understanding and knowing that people are going to respond means that they want to engage. I also wanted to pull something out. This is from my second book from Shareology in terms of how we can share. I basically worked on this sharing ratio of how to share in a balance that works for you. Now this applies to you. It says here that it's a personal brand, but it can also apply to a business brand as well. And what it means is that when you share, your brand is equal to the perceived reputation of the content or source that you're sharing. So if you were to share something, all the time on finance, then people are going to identify you more in a financial field because that's what you're sharing. So what that means is that you are what you share. And if you want to change that, or you want to be perceived in a different way, authentically speaking, then you just need to shift what it is that you're sharing. And over time, people will start to understand that that's what you're interested in. So again, you are what you share, and make sure that that is a part of, being your human brand. As Braxton mentioned at the very beginning, I did a TED Talk. The TED Talk was an actual TED Talk, not a TEDx, but it was sponsored by IBM in San Francisco, and I worked my butt off over 300 hours to do this TED Talk. I was really, really excited because I got a chance to actually do something that no other TED speaker had done before. I got permission to actually have people pull their phones out in the middle of a TED Talk and engage with the TED Talk. And so I put the screen up. What could I share that might change the world? In fact, this is still pinned to the top of my tweet stream, so you can see all the responses that are there, and on my Twitter profile. And basically, what I asked the audience to do is I asked them to share, take a picture, and share with the hashtag Sharing Inspires, and share something that makes them feel like they can change, they can change something, or they can share something that might change the world, that might inspire people to change something. And we had all kinds of responses. We trended internationally on Twitter, and we had over 20 million impressions in just the first, I think, 30 to 45 minutes. It was awesome. I was inspired myself when I saw some of the people who are trying to help save certain things around the world in different countries and different things going on. But the learning from this is even deeper, because we started to see that, let me go back, that influence came out of it, that each of these different clusters or different countries, these are all the shares that happen out of that one day. And each of those countries had a node at the very beginning. You can see that it's little colored dots, and those colored dots are the people that actually spawned or inspired the Sharing Inspires hashtag to go off, to go viral, to go off in the wave. as we talked about before, into each of those different countries. So the learning here is that if we actually look at influence and what people bring to the table when it comes to something they're very passionate about, we can get farther, we can go viral, we can do this again and again without having to be on a TED stage. So if I took the top 50 people here that actually just shared this, and we were to go ask them to share again or to be reciprocal in our sharing, we would probably be able to generate the same thing. And I've tested this in other, I haven't been able to be on the TED stage again, but we've tested this in other campaigns that we've done, and it is awesome when you can take a core group of influencers and actually create the wave. You don't have to be on a TED stage. So some really quick tips. I do have another keynote that I give just on influencer marketing, but I consolidated it down to a couple core points so that you can get some takeaways on just the influence piece. So the number one secret is just to build the HH relationships and connect people with people. Reaching out to influencers individually is a lot easier than just tweeting them and saying, will you be an influencer? I mean, that just kind of makes sense, right? Number two is think long-term. Long-term relationships and long-term programs of your influencer marketing campaigns will go miles. If you do a one and done or a project, it just doesn't work. You won't see the benefits. Number three is influencers can be everyone. I believe everyone on this webinar is an influencer on something. You guys are each influencers around something. Whether you like it or not, you are passionate about one thing at least, and that's the thing that you can probably influence more than anyone else because you probably know more about it than most people do. So that makes you an influencer on it. Number four is it must be a win-win. There has to be value for both sides. If you're not going to pay your influencers, there has to be some other value there for them. And I don't believe that you have to pay influencers, but I do think that there has to be value. Number five is stick to your plan. So many times people put influencer campaigns together and then 3 months down the road they change it, and then all of the data and all the metrics change too. Stick to it stick to the core ideas, the core strategy, and you'll see it work because it does take a while before it starts to work out for you. Number six is don't try to control what they say. You can include people in private communities. Your influencers should be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about privately amongst each other so that they can start to expand and feel good about what they're saying. You don't want to tell them what to say. Number seven is measure value investment, not just value of ROI or value of the return on investment. And the reason is because it's more than just data and numbers. There's also relationships involved, and you can measure relationships, but there's also so much more to it. And then the last one is walk the social talk. So if you're going to put on an influencer marketing campaign, or you're going to do anything socially, and your social isn't up to speed, then that makes it hard for them to trust you. So you also need to go out and get your influencer marketing up to speed, get it really solid, so that there's trust on both ends, that you are both working towards the same thing. Now, I'm just about to close out here, but the last story I want to give you is around having a college job that I had at Domino's. I actually was not making any tips at this job, and all of a sudden it dawned on me that people don't have any money in college, so there wasn't any tips to get. And so all of a sudden I'm at Safeway. I see this pallet of 2 liters Diet Coke and Coke, and I bought the whole pallet for it was like a sale, 50 cents for 2, so a quarter per piece. And with a medium or larger, I delivered a free Pepsi or Coke, I mean. And I delivered this to them, and they were like, each time they're college students, so they were like really excited, and they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't order this, and I'd say it was free, it's on me, and all of a sudden, because they had they had dry mouths, is all I'm going to say. They were very excited to see a 2 liter, and so they reached in their pants pocket, and then all of a sudden they pulled out $5 and $10 as a tip. Because I delivered unexpected, surprised value, and that kind of stuff is gold when you're trying to connect with your customer. You're trying to do things online or even in person that really connects you to other people. Okay, so I'm going to actually jump ahead here so that we have at least a couple minutes for questions. But before we do that, I promised you that I would give you a way to figure out which kind of sharer you are. And so I'm going to let you guys take 30 seconds here to take this little test. If you go to briancramer.com/infusion, then that will take you to the assessment, and it's a really quick one. It's only four quick multiple choice questions, and I've had over 20,000 people take this, and only 3 people have told me that they didn't think the answer was right. So I think the odds are pretty good that you guys are going to get at least how you're feeling in the moment about what kind of sharer you are. And if you guys would like to share that, which kind of sharer you are, in the comments, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see what kind of sharers we have here. So after you're done taking it, feel free to jot it down and let us know what kind of sharer you end up with. Would love to see that and hear from you guys. Okay, so while you're taking the quiz, I will go on in the background here. Just to review, we talked about in final thoughts, humans share, machines input. Know your brand, share it, and develop strong tribes. This is back to the whole influencer piece, understanding who your influencers are and making sure that they are able to share and be a part of your organization authentically. Number 3, and if you take anything away from this entire presentation, I hope you take this one away, being human is your competitive advantage. And number 4, I couldn't not put this in there, embrace your inner Fokker moments, and that's F-O-C-K-E-R. Embrace them, and I promise that people will connect even more for how human you're delivering on your engagement. So that's everything that, nice, Lauren. Lauren's a careerist. A careerist is great. Chrissy is a connector. We've got a connector in the audience. So Chrissy would love to connect you all to other people. Good stuff. So that's all I have. I know I just ran right up against the clock. It looks like Sharon's an altruist. Awesome. So Sharon, the fact that you shared with us that you're an altruist means a lot, because that's hard for altruists to share. But if there's any question that you guys have, anything that I went over the last, 58 minutes, 50 minutes. If you guys have any kind of questions, please feel free to just throw it out into the comments box. We have just 2 more minutes here. And Braxton, if you have anything that you needed to go over in the last 2 minutes, feel free to do that as well. Scott said, I broke it. Uh-oh. Early adopter. There it is. Early adopter. He likes to buy or try things first and teach other people. Let's see. David said he's a hipster, which is actually an early adopter. The way that I did the algorithm, it's an early adopter. Kristen said an early adopter. That's awesome. Let's see. Yeah, so early adopter. David is an early adopter. Susan's a selective. That's awesome. Awesome. Selectives are heart sharers. They like to share from their heart, and they also like to share on specific topics that they're really passionate about. If that sounds like you, do you guys think that this is? Do these describe who you are? Did that work well for you, or do you think that it's off at all? Let me know what you think about that. And again, if you have any questions, thank you, Susan. If you have any questions, again, throw them out. Otherwise, I'm going to pass the baton back over to Braxton. And thank you guys so much for letting me be here, being part of your hour. I hope you guys took away at least one thing. I try to give at least a lot of stuff so that you guys can take away at least one thing. And now that you took that assessment, it will give you more information on how to be a better sharer within that category. So hopefully that's helpful as well. And I'm really, really glad that we got to connect here today. I know these things are hard when we're on webinars and we don't get to see each other face to face. Trying the best that I can to be a human connection sharer here with you guys, and hopefully we accomplish some of that. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that.